So welcome back everyone into UX Masterclass. In this video, I'm going to talk about 10 rules for a good UX. So these are quite straightforward rules. You go step by step and you follow them and you will definitely have a very good design and a user experience. Without any further ado, let's actually jump into the video and see what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so over here we have the 10 rules. I'll go rule by rule, which is going to make things quite easy. Make sure that you note them. Would be very helpful for you. You can also download these from the description as well. Going to be even more helpful. Make sure that you join our Telegram group to be in touch with any sort of updates. And I hope you're liking it so far. Okay, let's go. So rule number one, familiarity and intuitiveness. Make your product speak the user's language so it feels very natural. I'm very sure I've talked about this before. Essentially, you need to understand what sort of language the user speaks. I'll give you a very simple example. For anyone who is from the background of commerce or business, they understand what is net profit, gross margin, all these technical terms. So if your software speaks the same language as a business person, he would definitely understand what you're trying to say. As compared to if you say profit just single-handedly doesn't really make sense for the people who are coming from business. Is it gross profit, or is it like overall profit, or is it company's profit, or is it profit after tax? There can be a lot of terms. When you say gross profit, you are specifically talking about one single particular type of profit. And that's what all these user experience decide. And you have to speak the language of the user to make sure that you are exactly pinpointing out the exact thing that you want to say. If you don't do that, chances are that your users are misled. Okay, and misled means that they're going to have trouble figuring out what you want to say. To avoid that thing, best is to go at a very pinpoint based user based language. If you're making a dating app, okay, so you know what you're doing, so you have accept or reject, as you all know in Tinder, and user language kind of helps quite well. How you can do this? You can use this with the concept of terminology that are intuitive and familiar to the users. Okay, I think that got a little cut up, but no problem. Yeah, so essentially you use terminologies which is very familiar to the user. That's going to be the thing, and that's going to be the main point over here. Then we move on to, this is rule number 2, clarity and simplicity. Now, what do you mean by clarity and simplicity? Having a clear design for the user so that the user knows what he's subscribing for. Okay, I'll give you a very simple example. What happens is when you have a design which speaks for itself and it has a clear motive, the user doesn't need to explain anything. The user can just simply go and do what he needs to do. Okay, avoiding adding features that muddy the core experience. Your core experience matters. Okay, hypothetically speaking, let's take an example of a search bar. Okay, in a search app which is there, let's say Google. Okay, in Google, your main experience is to allow the user to make a search. Anything extra is going to make the experience very muddy. We don't want to do that. Okay, a clarity and simplicity is going to be very easy. Okay, so I took these examples from a very good UX designer from Google. Okay, and she gave some couple of images as well. I'll show you that in a minute. So boil down each feature to its core and ask if it's helping users perform the essential task of the product. Simply saying, you need to boil down the core level features to the easiest format and allow the user to understand and see if this is really helping or not. Okay, that's going to decide if this is something that the users need or not. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's see an example. Okay, if you see this example over here, what's happening is that you have the Google search bar. Okay, and in the Google search bar, you see the most important thing that over here is the Google search. Okay, so you see the Google search bar is just there and nothing else is there. The Google logo is obviously there, and you have a voice command button. And when you press the voice command button, you see the entire screen is empty. Okay, the reason why they have kept it empty and not added a lot of things is because it allows the user to be very clean and particular about what he's doing. Okay, and that's the beauty of it. You need to make sure that the user experience remains as easy as possible and as clear as possible, so the user doesn't really have to suffer any sort of things. Okay, so rule number 3, let's move on to rule number 3, responsiveness and feedback. Now, I'll give you a very simple example in this thing. Okay, so all of you, as you know, in India, okay, whenever you do something wrong, your parents make a very angry face. Okay, I think it's globally acceptable, actually, not just in India. Your parents make a very angry face. So that's a feedback that you get from your parents when you do something stupid. Okay, and that feedback tells you that you have done something stupid. The same thing happens in your user experience as well. You need to give a feedback to the user. Okay. I'll give you a very simple example. Let me just come back to my main camera. Yeah, now I'm in my main camera. So whenever you have an iPhone, okay, or any phone with a slide switch, when you will do this slide switch, okay, you also get a vibration-based feedback that says that your phone is not now not in silent mode, okay. And when you do that again, you get a vibration back. So you know that you have pressed this button and your phone goes into silent mode. This just simple feedback allows you to understand so much about your phone, that your phone is now in silent or not in silent. Okay, this sort of feedback is what matters to the user. Let's go back. Okay, so now that we understood how do we give that, let's see with a small little tip. Tell them what they did was correct or not. Simple, pretty easy. Okay, if they did something which was correct, just let them know. Okay, if they have done something which is wrong, just let them know. Okay, it's pretty straightforward when you do the actions and give them feedback, very easily. Okay, easiness is the key. Example, let's say take an example of this thing of Twitter pages. Okay, whenever you make a password, okay, you get this feedback on the side which says looks great, and we have this email address as well. So all these small feedbacks give the user the information that what he's doing so far is absolutely correct, because you don't want the user to leave at the last moment when everything is wrong and you say an error in the end, and that's going to make things very terrible. So doing that or doing this thing allows the user to retain in your platform. Very, very important. Okay. Then we have the next rule, which is consistency and standards. Okay. So consistency and standards are pretty, hand in hand talk. Follow platform, conventions to leverage action behavior that users already know. Okay. I'll give you a very solid example. I think I have to come back to my camera again. Okay. Let's come back. Perfect. So if you see for an iPhone, everyone, for that matter of fact, everyone is used to the fact that whenever you want to go back, you just do like this, okay. Or if you're on an app or something, okay, you just open the app and you have this button of going like this, okay, going like this. The thing is, this action is by default the default action of going back. Okay, so any new app that you're making for an iPhone in particular, you can have this action as an inbuilt action. Okay, which means that knowingly, not knowingly, the user knows that whenever he wants to go back, he's doing this swipe. Okay, he's doing this swipe. This swipe you can use and put it inside the user experience and let them know that if you want to go back, you just do what you do already. Okay, you just need to do it in a different application, but you do what you do already. Pretty easy, pretty clear, and pretty straightforward actually. Okay, let's jump back. Okay, so now we understood consistency and standards. Okay, we have examples for this. Yep, we do. Tell them what they did was correct or not. That's also again the same thing. Okay, if they did something which was correct or not. We got the same sort of example. We have iOS application and in different designs. And if you see over here, you have the Gmail app. The Gmail app has this feature when you swipe, you can actually archive, or you can mark as read, mark as unread, and it's pretty much the same thing. So if you know that this simple method is going to be there, and you essentially have the same feature which is always going to be there, you already know that how you navigate into one application and on one phone, and how you navigate on the other application as well. Pretty standardization. Okay, pretty much very standardization. Then you have holistic brand voice. Okay, it's now it's the previous point and this one actually are like quite connected. Maintain a consistent visual appearance that can indicate the purpose of your brand beyond the product itself. Okay, I have amazing visuals to show you so that you know what I'm talking about. Let's actually jump into them. When you see it. Okay, what do you think this is? Okay, 99.9% people would say this is Coca-Cola. I mean, unless and until you're not living under a rock, you would know this is Coca-Cola. Okay, because the branding colors are the same, and they use the same colors all the time, and people know that when they see it, they're like, oh, this is definitely Coca-Cola. Even this thing as well. So this was another marketing campaign that they did, where they converted those Coca-Cola bottles into dispensers and other utility-based bottles. So but the thing is, like, the main idea is that since they use this color so solidly, the branding speaks itself. Okay, and that's what matters. Next rule is focus on the users. Okay, base decisions on the users to ensure that they're represented throughout the product cycle. Okay, you need to put the user in the center. Unless and until you put the user in the center, it's not going to work out. The user is going to feel left out and it's going to feel, he's just using a random application. Let them know technology is made for them. Okay, very, very important. They should know that the technology is made for them and not they are made for technology. Very important. This connection building is kind of like a very important thing. If you don't have this, then it's going to be pretty terrible for you and for your team as well. So the connection building is quite solid, important. I don't have an example for that, but that's a thing. Then you have collaborate. Okay, brainstorm and bounce the things off, to validate an idea. Okay, you need to collaborate with people. Whenever you're working with a good UX, it's never going to work out if you're just by yourself. It's never worked out otherwise as well. So, you need to make sure that your idea is continuously validated, as you did in the previous video as well, that you need to continuously validate your idea just to make sure that, it's actually pretty solid and usable. Your team is your soul. Very, very important. Okay. Then you have test and iterate. If you remember, these topics are actually very similar to the ones that we were doing in the previous one. So if you haven't checked that out, you can check it out on the playlist, which is in the description. You can go to the previous one and check it up. But testing and iteration means that always test your idea with the user and validate assumptions. Let us assume that you think that the search bar in the center of the page is going to be a brilliant idea. You would not really know unless and until you test it out with a bunch of users. When a bunch of users are going to test it out, they're going to say, okay, this is good, this is bad, this is okay, this is not okay. Then when you give it to a good number of people, then you would know, okay, this is something which is correct and this is something which is not correct. And then you would have an idea if this is a workable idea or not. Not everyone like beer, some like vodka, So this is a little bit of drinking example, but yeah. Then you have a clear product strategy. Define the core values of a product. As I said, don't muddy the experience. You have to be clear in the sense of designing experience before you begin designing. You have to be very clear on what exactly your product is offering so that your core experience doesn't change. If your core experience starts to change, people are not going to like it. That's pretty much an important line in itself. Focus on your goal, what you want to achieve. Okay. Then rule number 10, make it delightful. Look for moments that can make joy, and product easy to and enjoyable to use. Focus on your goal, what you want to achieve. I'll show you a very simple example. Whenever you click this thumb button on the Facebook, you would see that there's an animation that, it's like a balloon wrapping up and, balloon expanding. And that animation adds so much spark into the eyes of the people. It's just pretty cute. And that's what happens over here, that, you add a little bit of touch to yourself and to touch to your design to make it a little bit delightful. That's it. You can obviously leave it, but adding this makes your application a little bit more surprising and happy. That's it. Like this one. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this one. This 10 rules are like pretty important, pretty solid. I'm so glad that, I made a stretched out one, continuous video for this thing, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me come back to my main camera. Okay. Yeah. Make sure that you, check the entire thing up. If you need any other help, you can check out the entire playlist. Obviously the link is in the description. If you're following this, in a course module, then you can just move on to the next one. That's also pretty much the same. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Till then, keep watching and keep studying as well and make notes. And then peace.